You whistle. Your dog looks up. It drops what it's doing and runs to you, tail already moving before it even arrives. You barely notice how strange this is, but it is strange. Nothing else in the wild does this. No wolf walks up to a stranger's campfire and decides to stay. No fox waits by your door every evening just to see your face. Somewhere in the deep past, one species crossed a line that no other predator ever crossed. And the strange part isn't that we tamed them, pritching. The strange part is that they may have tamed themselves. For most of human history, the story sounded simple. Early humans found wolf pups. They raised them over generations. Those wolves became dogs, neat, comforting, almost flattering to us. But the science tells a messier, far more interesting version of events. Anthropologist Pat Shipman has spent years studying what actually happened at the boundary between early humans and the animals around them. Pritching. Her research points to something surprising. Humans didn't choose wolves first. Wolves chose humans. Picture a hunting camp 30,000 years ago. Fires burning. Fresh kills being butchered. Bones and scraps left behind. Now picture the wolves at the edge of the tree line watching, not attacking. Watching the boldest wolves, the ones with slightly less fear of humans, crept closer. They ate the scraps humans left behind. It cost them nothing. Pritching. It saved them enormous energy compared to hunting alone. And crucially, it worked. They survived better than the shy wolves who stayed away. This is where it gets strange. Survival didn't favor the strongest wolves anymore. It favored the calmest ones, the ones who could tolerate a strange, upright, fire-wielding animal nearby without panicking. Here's a term worth knowing. Self-domestication. Pritching. It means an animal changes itself, generation after generation, simply by choosing to stay near humans, without a single human ever trying to breed it that way. Nobody selected these wolves on purpose. Nature did the selecting. The calm ones ate. The calm ones survived. In 1959, Soviet geneticist Dmitry Belyaev began breeding silver foxes. He didn't select for cuteness or intelligence. He selected for one trait only, tameness, which foxes stayed calmest around humans. Within a few generations, something remarkable happened. The foxes didn't just act tamer. Their bodies changed. Ears started to flop. Tails began to curl. Coats grew patches of white skulls, became slightly smaller and rounder. Nobody bred for those features. They arrived as a side effect of selecting for calm behavior alone. Scientists call this the domestication syndrome, and it shows up again and again across different tamed species. Floppy ears, shorter snouts, rounder faces, docile temperament. Wrapped in a softer-looking body, sound familiar? Look at a dog beside a wolf. The proportions are different. The face is rounder. The eyes seem bigger, more expressive. Pritching. Dogs even evolved a muscle above their eyes that wolves don't have, one that lets them raise their eyebrows and produce something startlingly close to a pleading puppy dog look. Researchers call this the puppy dog eyes muscle, and it appears to have developed specifically because humans respond to it. We are wired to feel a pull toward wide, expressive eyes. Dogs, without knowing it, evolved a face built to trigger exactly that response in us. This is not a coincidence. This is co-evolution. Pritching. Two species shaping each other without either one planning it. Consider what this actually required. A wild predator, built by millions of years of evolution to fear anything unfamiliar, had to override that fear completely. Fear kept its ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years. Fear meant distance from danger. And yet near human camps, fear became the disadvantage. The wolves who felt the least fear got the most food. Isn't that a strange kind of world? A place where courage, not caution, becomes the winning strategy. Belyaev's fox experiment revealed something else too. Something almost eerie. The tame foxes didn't just tolerate humans, they began to seek them out. They whined for attention. They wagged their tails. They licked the hands of their caretakers, the exact same behaviors we associate with dogs today. Nobody taught them this. It emerged on its own, purely from selecting for a lack of fear, generation after generation. Pritching. That should stop you for a second. Affection, in this case, wasn't trained into an animal. It was uncovered. It was already sitting there, coiled inside the biology of a fearful predator, waiting for the fear to be selected away. But why would humans let this happen? What did we get out of feeding wandering wolves? Evolutionary biologist Brian Hare has spent decades studying dog cognition, and his research suggests the payoff was enormous. Pritching. Wolves that tolerated humans could act as an early warning system. They could smell predators long before people could. They could track wounded prey for miles. In a world where survival meant noticing danger seconds before it arrived, having an animal partner with a nose 1,000 times more sensitive than yours wasn't a luxury. It was an advantage that could save your life, so a partnership formed, not through conquest, through mutual benefit. Humans got protection and hunting help. Wolves got an easier, safer way to eat. Neither side needed to understand what was happening. Evolution just quietly rewarded the individuals on both sides who tolerated each other best. Think about the humans in this story too, because they were changing as well. The bands of early humans who tolerated wolves near their camps gained a real edge over the ones who didn't. Better warning of predators, better tracking of wounded game, slightly higher odds of surviving a hard winter, preaching over enough generations. Human groups that lived alongside proto-dogs may have simply outlasted the ones that didn't. That means the wolves weren't only adapting to us, we may have been adapting to them, two species sitting across an invisible negotiating table made of firelight and scraps, each one slowly reshaping the other's odds of survival. Pritching. Archaeologist Angela Perry has studied ancient burial sites where dogs were laid to rest with the same care as human family members, sometimes wrapped, sometimes placed beside their owners in the grave. Some of these burials date back over 14,000 years. That is not the treatment given to a tool or a guard animal. That is the treatment given to someone who mattered over thousands of years. This loose arrangement tightened. The tamest wolves stayed closer. Bred with other tame wolves. Pritching produced tamer offspring still. Eventually, something crossed a threshold. These animals weren't wolves living near humans anymore. They were dogs. Genetic studies, including work published by evolutionary geneticist Robert Wayne, estimate this split happened somewhere between 15 and 40,000 years ago. That range is wide because the evidence is faint and old, but every marker points to the same conclusion. Dogs were not invented in a single moment. They emerged slowly from thousands of small decisions made by wolves choosing to stay just a little closer to the fire. Here's the twist that changes how you should think about this whole story. We often say humans domesticated dogs, as if we sat down one day and decided to build a companion species, but the evidence suggests something closer to the opposite. Dogs may have essentially domesticated themselves, using humans as the selective pressure that shaped their own evolution. They read our body language. They noticed our routines. They calculated generation after generation that closeness to us meant survival. And so they leaned in, not out of loyalty in the beginning, out of strategy. The loyalty came later. It came once their brains had been reshaped, over thousands of years, by a bond that rewarded connection. Studies on oxytocin, the so-called bonding hormone, show something remarkable. Pritching. When a dog and its owner make eye contact, both of their oxytocin levels rise. The same hormonal loop that bonds a parent to a child fires between you and your dog when you simply look at each other. Wolves don't hold eye contact with humans this way. It reads to them as a threat. Dogs evolved past that instinct entirely. They evolved toward us. Researchers led by Takefumi Kikusui in Japan tested this directly. Pritching. They measured oxytocin in both dogs and their owners before and after short periods of gazing at each other. The results showed a clear loop. The longer the eye contact, the higher the oxytocin spike in both dog and human. Then they tested the same experiment with hand-raised wolves. The loop didn't appear. Wolves, even ones raised by humans from birth, didn't produce the same hormonal response. Something in the dog brain had been rewired that the wolf brain never was. Pritching. That single difference may be the clearest evidence we have that dogs underwent a genuine neurological split from their wild ancestors. Not just a change in appearance, not just a change in temperament, a change in the actual chemistry of connection. Think about what that means. Your dog isn't performing affection out of habit. Its brain chemistry is doing almost exactly what a human brain does in a close relationship. That tail wag, that eager greeting at the door, isn't just conditioned. Pritching. It's the end product of tens of thousands of years of animals who bet their survival on being lovable to us, and won. There's one more piece of this story worth sitting with. Genetic comparisons between modern dogs and modern wolves show that dogs actually have more copies of certain genes tied to starch digestion than wolves do. Wolves are almost pure carnivores. Pritching. Dogs, over thousands of years living beside farming humans, evolved the ability to digest the grains and scraps that made up more and more of the human diet. Their bodies changed to match our table, not just our fire. That detail matters because it shows this was never a single moment of taming. It was an ongoing negotiation that lasted for thousands of years, stretching from hunting camps to farming villages to eventually your living room. Every stage of human history left its mark on the species walking beside us. Ice Age hunters shaped the first wolves who dared to stay close. Early farmers shaped the digestive systems of the dogs who lived on their scraps, and you, without realizing it, are shaping the next chapter simply by choosing which dog to bring home and which behaviors you reward. So when your dog looks up at you and waits for your next move, you're not just seeing a pet respond to training, pritching. You're watching the final chapter of one of the strangest survival stories in evolutionary history. A wild predator looked at a dangerous, unpredictable species around a fire and decided the safest place in the world was standing right next to it. Maybe that's the real answer to the question. Dogs didn't choose humans because we were kind first. They chose us because, generation after generation, calm was safer than fear. And somewhere along the way, safety turned into something neither species expected. It turned into love. Tonight, when your dog curls up at your feet, remember what you're really looking at. Not a tamed animal, a survivor, the descendant of every wolf that ever chose to trust a stranger by the fire and was right to